This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Perfect.
I'm not entirely sure. All right, hold on. Where's my headphones? We can see if I can get those on. I don't know if I can or not. We're going to try it.
This is classic.
You like this, do you?
Yeah, this is great.
All right, so here we go. Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the gun guy. We're gonna have a little interview here with Rick Travis. The Darth Vader look. I felt like it was apropos. I think I can probably take it off now. But actually, the only reason I have this stuff out is not because I'm worried about the coronavirus. It's actually just that my wife and I were
pulling up some carpet in one of the rooms, and it's really dusty. So I just had that stuff laying around. I figured, what the heck, I'd start off the whole interview, Rick, with the Darth Vader look. You don't know the power of the Darth. It's too bad I didn't have the. Anyway, Luke, I am your father. I don't think he really said that, but that's okay. Anyway, this is Joel Persinger at I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for joining us. You have no idea what Rick and I have gone through trying to get this interview done. He finally got his technical guy to make this work, and I'm very, very grateful. I could not get it to work. We tried 2 or 3 different ways, but by George, you are not freezing, Rick, and neither are you. Hey, I love it. I love it. So what we wanted to do here is give you an update on what's going on in California, because with the coronavirus thing and what the governor has done and all this, we've had sheriffs and municipalities and all kinds of people want to shut down gun stores. It's been kind of crazy. What you probably don't know is that even though everyone's working from home, that would include me and includes Rick and his team, they're all still working their tails off trying to protect the Second Amendment during this very trying time. So, Rick, if you wouldn't mind, give us an idea of what's happening in California right now and what are we fighting in general, but also with regard to this COVID-19 stay-at-home order.
Yeah, so the stay-at-home order from the national government is obviously designed to hopefully keep all of us safe and from contracting this disease that even if you survive it, some of the people in the population are going to have long-lasting impacts to their lungs and their pulmonary system. And so we understand that, as you do, Joel. But what it did create was in the state of California with our governor, Newsom, he has been very vague from the onset of this of what the term essential business means. And because of that, it has allowed, the 58 different counties and the almost 480 municipalities to have different interpretations. Not trying to be funny, but it kind of reminds me of the reason you never want a peace treaty done in French, because the French language is so ambiguous that what you think meant you won, I could say, no, that meant I won. And somebody else could say no one won. And it probably wouldn't be wrong given the French language. And it seems like the state of California is speaking in French more than it is English, which is our common language. What that actually means for all of us, though, is that in this fight for our rights, we have had to go county by county and work with the sheriff, work with the county health officer, and work with the district attorney's office. And the problem with that is, on a good day, Joel, when you don't have the virus, you don't have all the media, all the things going on, that can take a week to get those 3 people into the same room to take a phone call. During a crisis, it's next to impossible, which is why we've actually had calls as late as 12:30 in the morning with people to try to get things done. So good news is some of the counties are issuing orders that gun stores are an essential business. And I want to explain why we believe that as Second Amendment advocates. And it's simply for multiple reasons. Reason number one is during any crisis, your ability to have law enforcement protect you is diminished because there's only so many law enforcement officials there. And those people are called to do other things that are designed to protect the infrastructure. So that means they're not there for your protection. And also with this virus, many law enforcement agencies throughout the state have adopted a policy of unless the bad guy is physically there, they're not coming. It'll be a report over the phone to limit their proximity to other people, to keep that social distancing, to make sure that they keep law enforcement as safe for as long as possible. So the result of that has created a situation where gun stores are absolutely necessary, and we've seen some unique things. According to most of the gun stores we've talked out throughout the state, it varies somewhere between 80 and 90% of the people coming through their door to purchase a firearm, Joel, first-time gun owners.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. And they're going to need some training, and they're going to need some help a little bit as well. So,
Right.
It's first of all, if you're watching this and you're a first-time gun owner, welcome to the world of gun owners. I'm very grateful that you've gone out and gotten yourself a way to defend yourself. Now, those of us who have been around a little bit need to help you learn how to do that safely. But yeah, the other thing, especially, Rick, I've talked to a couple of people who are in law enforcement at the state level and at the local level and the county level in a couple of counties. And what I'm hearing is exactly what you said, and that is that they're really trying to minimize their contact with the public because of the coronavirus. And so as a result, in a lot of ways, they're not enforcing things that they would normally be enforcing. They're only acting if things are really serious. That's why you're not seeing, at least I'm not hearing about a lot of tickets being written right now. And I'm not hearing about officers responding to low priority or mid priority calls. They're only responding to the high priority calls, from what I understand. When you combine that with the fact that many politicians are calling for the release of prisoners from jail because they don't want them to get the coronavirus, we now have this perfect storm where everybody's home, and that's nice, but the law enforcement is not acting as it normally would, and we're talking about releasing criminals on the street that law enforcement has already arrested and incarcerated. And now we want to say, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't buy a gun ahead of time, you're out of luck, you cannot go buy a firearm. On top of that, we have a 10-day wait in this state. So if you close the gun stores, you have people, I talked to several people who contacted me who had purchased a gun. They were in the middle of their 10-day wait, and now the gun stores are declared non-essential businesses, and they could literally go down and pick up the gun they purchased because their 10 days is up, but they can't because the gun store is closed.
And I want to touch on something before I come to address that. The issue of the 10-day wait, the firearm safety card, the ammunition card. One of the arguments prior to this entire debacle starting off was, hey, the people of California know what the rules are. The governor's office, DOJ, et cetera, have educated the general population. But I want people on both sides of the aisle to start looking. As these people went, and some estimates says 250,000 people went and bought their firearms for the first time, number one complaint in lines was, what do you mean I have to wait to pick it up? That's not what the media says. Media says I pay $25, I get a Glock. Now, that one is the one I want to find out where you get a Glock for $25. Personally, that's a deal.
I'll tell you what, where's my wallet? Where do I go?
But it was also interesting. They didn't know there was a firearm safety card. They didn't know there was a wait to go ahead and get approved to buy ammunition. And, these people are doctors, lawyers. They're educated people that have been sitting in these lines going, what? This is the law? And so it's given us a unique opportunity to talk to them, not mock them like some people start to on social media, but actually engage them. Welcome to the Second Amendment, and welcome
Absolutely.
to what we go through here in California.
Sure, absolutely. Welcome. Yeah, no, the last thing we need to be doing is disparaging people who are trying to get a firearm to defend themselves. These are honest, law-abiding, hardworking people, and they have a Second Amendment too. Whether they were availing themselves of it earlier or now need to or feel they need to because of this pandemic doesn't really matter. We still need to embrace them as new people coming into the shooting arena and the Second Amendment arena. So I agree with you 100%. The last thing we should be doing is saying, ha, 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 you should have done it before. No, that's not right.
Right. And so that's one of the reasons we've worked around the clock. Good news is we've had sheriffs and health officers agree with us on it. But one of the arguments we got to teach our public and our people about is gun stores also provide a couple of other things besides that initial firearm safety card, which is by no means the end-all be-all for gun safety, but it's a start for somebody that's brand new, is also the attitude of that gun stores are there to provide access for the prosecution of criminals that, they need to find out where a firearm went through, things like that. So there's that part that should not be shut down, especially during a crisis. But many gun stores also have survival supplies that people are now like, hey, this might go longer than 2 weeks. I might need, a camp stove. I might need, whatever it may be. that they need to be able to go. So on the 10-day wait, this is an interesting patchwork in California right now. We have some places, even in LA County, where today Sheriff Villanueva reversed himself yet again. He first came out with the order to close all the gun stores off. The CRPA went and pushed back along with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and he reversed himself when the county council said, no, you can't do that. And then today he said, well, I'm the guy in charge of all the emergency operations, and I'm doing it anyways. And we're now fighting him again and have just released some documentation on that. So I need people to realize that there's a lot of information. You almost have to ask people right now, because things are happening so fast. When did you hear that statement? To try to figure out what's the current thing going on. And
yeah, it's kind of like the weather in certain parts of the country. If you don't like it, wait 5 minutes. I mean, it really is changing just about that fast. It's really amazing.
And I think this should serve as a lesson to all of us of just how vulnerable some of our rights are, and why we need, as you and I have talked before, to really get more engaged in the voting process with this, because we have a lot of people right now who, they basically figure out what they're going to do, and that's put their finger, and try to figure what's going on. We do have some communities, though, and this is one of the things I want to highlight. So take LA County as the example. I know we are down in San Diego County. Sheriff Gore has been good and thus far said that gun stores are essential businesses. And, that's
well, and the closest city to where I live is the city of El Cajon, and Bill Wells is the mayor there. Bill is a former gun store owner, and an extremely good guy. He's actually one of my CCW students, so a very conservative guy. And he came out very vocally and said, no, gun stores are essential businesses and they need to remain open. So even though the county may say what the county says, you still have local mayors who are standing up saying, no, that's not going to fly in my city. And Bill is certainly among them. So I want to lift him up for that, as well as Sheriff Gore. I don't always agree with Sheriff Gore on certain things, but he has been pretty steadfast on this, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, so in LA County, just like Mr. Wells, we've had different municipalities within LA County, even as, just a second ago, that's why I was looking the other way. I just got something that the mayor and police chief of Glendora walked into one of their gun stores and said, no, stay open. We're going to back you on this. So we have municipalities standing up to the county sheriffs. And I think that's going to cause some issues for us when the legislature does go back in, because it's not a unified voice in the state during a crisis. And we need to get them on the same page. I know the NRA has done that in other states, especially post-Katrina and a couple of other hurricanes and disasters. And I think this is teaching Californians what we're going to have to do.
It's somewhat comforting, as you mentioned NRA, it's somewhat comforting, but I worry about it. It's somewhat comforting that back right after Katrina in 2006, NRA, Second Amendment Foundation, GOA, all the organizations started fighting this kind of all at once. And we ended up with the Disaster Preparedness Protection Act of 2006, I think is what you call it, right, which essentially says that law enforcement in general cannot confiscate lawfully owned arms during an emergency or during the recovery after a disaster. And some people have read that and said, no, that doesn't apply to local yokels, but it does include any agency that receives federal funds. And if you can find a local or state law enforcement agency that doesn't receive federal funds, I want to know which one it is. My concern is that it's quicker and easier for the state to violate those laws than it is for us to take them to court and force them to obey them. Are you seeing anybody thinking about or talking about confiscating lawfully owned firearms in the state of California?
Not yet. We haven't seen that. I don't, I always hesitate because there's some things that have happened the last week that I didn't think was going to happen. They've happened.
Right. That's what concerns me. I agree.
Right. But, right now we've also, CRPA has been in contact with the Department of Homeland Security, and they have repeatedly said there is no intent to do that. The Air Force in general, I should have said the Air Force General, who's in charge of the National Guard movement right now, said there were no plans to do anything like that. In fact, he's actually deploying guardsmen for the most part to either help out hospitals or to unload food trucks and stuff like that. Also, what's going on is there's some challenges, as you know, Joel, to training because of the social distancing. Right. We're have to scale some things down, and that's one of the things I've been trying to get people to calm down. Obviously, none of us are used to being, kept in our homes for the most part for this amount of time. I mean, there's a few of us that are hermits, but most of us like to get out and about and go see things and do things. And so being sequestered is unnerving. But the big point I want to make is you got to start looking at the system. Normally in a system, without any of this going on, given counties, people have to go see people like you as a trainer. They have to turn in their information for CCWs, depending on how filled your classes are. Because, you know, sometimes you go to hold a class and there's only 6 people in, and other times you got a line of 60 people wanting to take the class, and it's just, you know,
as far as I know, nobody's holding them at all.
Right. And so there's going to be a couple of things that are going to come out of it. You know, I can take Orange County as an example because I had a conversation with the sheriff a couple, weeks ago, but they're in a position of where they're doing right now 10,000 renewals alone a year, just renewals.
Right.
So if you break those up, that's roughly what, 800, 850 a month.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then you've got the new people trying to come in, and we have more of those new people. This is all going to be backed up because they had to close things down. You know, other than the renewals, they can do renewals a little differently, as you know. But even with the train for the renewals, that has been jammed up for the past week and a half. People forget, and I've said this before on your show, California is a huge state. In some ways, the governor is right. It's like its own little nation with 58 little states that we call counties within it. And each of those operate differently for a vast majority of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the terrain of the county, urban versus rural, et cetera, et cetera. But that has also created some angst amongst our followers because, you know, somebody saying in LA County is like, why can't I live in San Diego right now? Joel's able to go to the gun store. Joel's able to do this. I can't.
Yeah, well, right. Well, you can go to the gun store. You just got to drive to San Diego to do it. That's
right.
All. Right.
And so those are some of the issues that CRPA and, you know, some of the other organizations like, you know, Sam Perez over at GOC are having to deal with on a daily basis too. We understand you're upset. We're working around the clock, but there's only so much we can do. And our focus right now is trying to get these sheriffs and these health officers to cite that gun stores are an essential business.
Well, and okay, so I'm going to say something here is probably going to make somebody mad, and if it does, you're going to have to get over it. But this is an example. I'm not saying, gee, we should have done this ahead of time, but I am saying, gee, we should have done this ahead of time. So I'm not trying to say that, it's all your fault or to anyone. But the truth is that this man, Rick Travis and his team, and Sam Paredes and his team, and others for that matter, work their tails off day in and day out to make sure that these things don't happen when emergencies come about. And frankly, among gun owners in California and among now brand new gun owners in California who didn't really think about it before, they get only a smattering of support. They don't get the support when they ask people to come out and join a rally. They don't get the support when they ask people to call or write or email their representatives. They don't get the support at the ballot box. They don't get the financial support. And then when everything goes in the can, now everybody expects them to magically fix immediately all of the problems they've been trying to fix for decades without much support. So to some degree, in fact, I would say to a large degree, the fact that we're in this position right now is because these organizations don't get the support they need in times when there aren't these disasters and pandemics. So if we want to be able to not have to fight this during a pandemic, we need to fight it when we don't have a pandemic. But right now, it's maybe a little late for me to be saying that, but I have been saying it for decades, by the way. So maybe a little late for me to be saying that, but now the reason why I mention it now is we're going to fight. Rick and I told Rick the other day, I said, if you need me to be at a location and I can be there, I'll be there. Whatever you need me to do to help with this, I will do it. If you need to get the word out, I'm going to help. I'm going to do whatever I can. We'll put together a class. We'll do whatever we can to help. But once this is passed, and I firmly believe we're going to get past this. Once this is passed, don't forget CRPA. Don't forget gun owners of California. Get in there and help, volunteer an hour, volunteer a little time, volunteer now while you're sitting at home with nothing to do so that you can get on the phone or they'll give you stuff to do you can do at home. But we've got to get in this fight together to keep our rights so that during a situation like this, we all have the ability to defend ourselves against the criminals they let out of jail. Anyway, there you go. I said it. Pardon me, Rick. I apologize. I got on my soapbox. I don't know where's my soapbox. Let's put that away. I'll go get my.
I think it's funny because I get usually accused of being the one that talks down to people, even though I'm trying not to. So that was kind of enjoyable to watch.
And I'm afraid I just did. And if you're watching this and you feel like I'm talking down to you, I do apologize. That's not my style, and it isn't what I wish to do. It's not my intention. But I think at this point, this pandemic is a wake-up call in a lot of areas. It's a wake-up call when you look at your pantry and realize there's nothing in it. It's a wake-up call when you look in your bathroom and realize there's no toilet paper there. It's a wake-up call when you go, what am I going to do if we run out of water? Or what am I going to do if the electricity goes off? A lot of people getting all those wake-up calls. I get it. It's also a wake-up call. What am I going to do if the government says I can't go buy a gun and I don't have one? What am I going to do if I need to buy ammunition and they've closed a gun store? What am I going to do? Do you see what I'm saying? So we need to get ahead of this stuff, particularly where rights are concerned. The only reason why Rick and I can do this right now and they haven't shut this down is because of the First Amendment. We have a right to express ourselves, so we can do this. But if the government shut down the First Amendment, then our internet connection, our ability to post this on social media would be gone. Right now, it's very difficult to do. I'm grateful to God for technology, because it's only because of the technology that we can do this. If we had to do it any other way, we couldn't do it because we're told to stay home by a government order. Well, is the Second Amendment somehow less important than the First? And no, without the Second, you haven't got the First, or the Third, or the Fourth, or the Fifth, or the Sixth, or any of them. So there you go. All right, I've done enough, Rick. I apologize. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop ranting. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I know you are. Rick and I are friends, by the way. So, but anyway, okay. So what else? Now that I've ranted and half of the viewing audience has now gone away, I apologize. What else are we dealing with in California?
So one of the other things we're dealing with is the firearm safety certificates themselves. The system, I want your viewers to know, has crashed at least a half a dozen times in the past 2 days. And part of that is because DOJ furloughed a lot of their people to maintain social distancing and comply with the orders. And also because we have overwhelmed that system's capability because of the sheer numbers and volume. And talking with several of the big box stores, as well as several of the regional stores like you have down there in San Diego and El Cajon and stuff, what we're hearing is that it wasn't Y2K, it wasn't 9/11, it wasn't the Obama years that turned out to be the biggest clean out their stores of everything. It's right now that that's happening. And so I also want to address what we're hearing from outside the state. So some of the big rumors that I want to put down really quick and give, this is a myth, it's not a fact. Please. One of the myths is, all the suppliers across the country have been ordered not to give anything to California. That is false. Here's what's happened. We can go to places like Davidson's and I can't remember the name of the big one in Arizona that sends a lot of things to small FFLs and gun stores. They literally have ran out. They are not able to get stock back in fast enough to get it back out to the stores in their local area, let alone cross state lines. And so it's the entire national system for moving firearms that has been slowed way down. And so we got to realize
that shouldn't surprise anybody, because the supply chain for just about everything has been slowed down. Why would firearms be different?
Well, and see, that's what I love about you, Joel, because you use logic. And so when
I'm old, so I've learned to, because if I use my emotions, I get all ratcheted up.
But I've had people call up, and I haven't tried to be funny, but I'm like, can you get toilet paper? Can you get yeast? Can you get basic staples? No. Well, firearms and ammunition are a staple item, and just like those others, they're the items people go to during a crisis, and that's why they've been drained down. Now, the good news is the opportunities we talked about earlier to bring new people into this. And I want to point out something too. This is our opportunity to show people that the Second Amendment is not a Republican device. It's an American, a constitutional amendment. It applies
it's a constitutional guarantee for Americans' rights, regardless of their political bent.
Exactly. And so we have a lot of new people coming in that we need those votes in the future to be able to protect that Second Amendment. So probably the last thing I want to finish up with is we do need your viewers, even if they're outside of the state of California, to let us know what's going on, because we're all trying to gather information as this crisis unfolds. And so we just ask that you're on,
You froze.
but get us the information so that we can use that.
Say it again, Rick, because I think you froze and I didn't get it all.
Okay. What I said was, I need your people that are watching this video to go ahead, regardless of where they live, and let us know what's going on. I don't care if they contact you, they contact CRPA, Gunners of California, but that information is vital to our defense of your rights.
Are you having trouble figuring it out because you guys are not in the office, you're all working from home?
Correct.
Yeah, so if we're all working from home, we're going to find things that Rick and his team are going to be aware of. In fact, I think I mentioned to you the other day that Nathan Fletcher here in San Diego had gotten up and made an announcement that gun stores were not essential. And
Right.
you've worked with Nathan, and so you were very surprised about that. But you didn't realize that he'd gotten up and say that. Now, I don't know him. I probably shouldn't call him Nathan. He's Mr. Fletcher, but he's younger than I am, so by George, he can be Nathan and get over it. One way or the other. Rick didn't know that until I told him that, and he was just really shocked by that. So it is important that we pass that information along to them, because we have to recognize that right now they're not mobile. They're like the rest of us. They're stuck at home.
So thank you, and thank everybody out there. And please, on behalf of myself personally and the California Rifle Pistol Association, be safe and stay healthy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rick. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the call and fighting through all the technical things that we've had to deal with. Have a great week. You stay safe, and we'll do this again very soon. So if you're watching, I'll have Rick on again so we can keep you up to date. So keep watching GunGuyTV. We'll make sure that we make sure you're informed as soon as we know new things. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week, and please be safe.